Hi everyone, it's Nicole. Welcome back to another paper crafting video tutorial. Today for Stamptember 2024, it is Memory Boxes limited edition exclusive, which is this adorable, I want to call it like Scandinavian or Nordic style stamp set with cute images, and there are coordinating dies. I did not get them, and so today we are going to create a card without coordinating dies, but it also is a good reminder that if you have a stamp set that will fit in this waffle flower postage set or any of the postage style dies that are out there, you can make anything into a fun postage scene. So we're going to take these cute memory box images and turn them into postage stamps. I am going to leave mine as a full sheet for my card front today, but I also think they would be adorable cut apart and used in other creative ways on a card. So what I'm doing is attaching my die cut waffle flower postage frame to the back of the coordinating stencil. The stencil, or the mask in this case, is going to make it so that we can easily stamp the images just within each of the postage frames. So I'm going to play around with my images, my little Santa, my trees, penguin, and snowman, and figure out the best placement for those and where I think they're going to fit the best, where I think I want to add a sentiment, and then we're going to start stamping our images. And you'll see I move them around, I kind of play with it, trying to envision what my little sheet of postage is going to look like. In addition to this memory box set, obviously we have the waffle flower postage stamps and dies. We're also going to be using the waffle flower postage stamps. I think I said stamps and dies. I meant dies and stencils originally, but we're also going to use the stamps to create the cancellation marks and things like that. Once we have everything lined up how we want, I did have to kind of partially mask off up above the trees with another piece of Post-it tape. I am going to stamp my first images in their little stamp sheet here using Hero Arts Intensified black ink. And I just want to make sure they fit within each of their assigned spaces, if you will, and then we're going to clean those, move those out of the way, and stamp our penguin. The other two blocks we're going to leave free from anything right now because one of them we're going to stamp and emboss the snowflakes from the stamp set, and in the other we're going to add our sentiment. Okay, once I have that, I am going to peel up my stencil, and I'm going to take my stencil over to the side and get rid of any of the black ink. If you're going to do what I'm doing here next, you're going to want to do the same thing because you don't want any of that black ink smearing into our images. Without masking, I am taking Night Simon Says Stamp Positively Saturated ink and a small blending brush. I probably should have used the even smaller round one, but I didn't. And I am going to start inking the blocks that don't have anything, and I'm also going to ink around each of my images. Now, if a little ink gets on your images, it's okay. In fact, you're going to see me go ahead and color all of these and really kind of take care of the fact that I was a little messy. It doesn't matter. Most of our coloring is going to cover it up, but I think in the finished card, you won't even see any little imperfections. So we're just going to continue coloring all the way around. It doesn't look great right now, but I promise it is going to look so good. And my goal with today's project was really to inspire you, or hopefully inspire you, to take lots of different stamp sets that you may already own and love, or pick up new stamp sets, or pick up the new memory box stamp set, and create something outside the box. You could definitely create scene cards with this. You can create tags with this stamp set. But I know the postage craze is all the rage right now. I mean, I've done quite a few projects with postage themed products, even during this month, let alone previous to this and upcoming. But I just love how this turned out. So we're going to grab my Olo markers now and get started coloring. I'm going to attempt to go block by block. I did color in Santa's face, and then I did kind of hop over to the trees, and then we're going to hop back to Santa before moving to our penguin and snowman. All of the color combinations I'm using are down in the description below, and I decided to do something a little out of the norm. I didn't really want to do traditional holiday reds and greens. I wanted to do some blues for Santa. I almost feel like instead of a Santa suit, he has a tracksuit on. I don't know why, but that just keeps going through my head, and I think it's kind of funny. But we are coloring in his face and beard, kind of bringing Santa to life, and then we'll start coloring in the trees and come back and color in his outfit. Sometimes I just have to let the coloring take me in the direction it wants to go. So I want to choose some greens here that are not bright greens. So I'm going to choose yellow greens. And we're even going to do a little blue green over the top for added shading here in a minute. I'm feathering down from each section of the tree and then also pulling up, leaving the middle of each section somewhat lighter. Now, one of the things I love about this stamp set is that each of the images have a lot of detail. A lot of that kind of Scandinavian detailing to them. And we are going to make good on those by using white jelly roll pens to emphasize that after we've colored. Starting with these trees, you can kind of faintly see the little black marks here from the stamped image. And I want to draw that out with a white pen. So let's color in all the trees first. Here's my little blue-green over the top, just adding that touch over it that gives it a little bit of a blue hint, I guess. I love it. So let's color in the rest of the remaining two trees, doing the same thing with the feathering motion, blending it out and then blending that blue-green in. Then we're going to take our white pen and add in that detail so that it really shines. I've had a lot of questions about the black and white jelly roll pens that I have been using this month, and I love I think it's Sakura. If I'm saying that wrong, I'm so sorry. Pens, they are what I have used for years and years. I do store them with the pen tip down so that the ink is always closest to the pen tip, if that makes sense. And I generally scribble them off on a scrap piece of paper before I bring them to my actual project. Look at those little white dots along the edge of each layer of the tree. I love this. I think it adds a lot. It's very subtle, and you're going to notice that throughout each of these postage blocks that the white pen detail is subtle, but it adds a lot to the design. Okay, now it's time to color in Santa's tracksuit. We've got some blues here and definitely the deeper blue colors. And I'm going to kind of outline with my dark colors and then kind of blend that out, I suppose, with my mid-tone, and then even more shade it with the lightest. So I've got kind of three colors for Santa. For his hat, we're going to do a couple of colors. We're going to keep these blues, but then I'm going to use some blue greens for one of the stripes and his palm on his hat, and we're also going to use those same blue greens for the penguin's outfit. I did add in some pink cheeks. I got a little too dark color there on accident. So we're just going to blend those out with a lighter shade, and that gives Santa some nice rosy cheeks. He's out for a walk in the cold. Now here is the white pen detail. I tried it on Santa first, and I was like, yep, gonna do that for everything. And then I looked at the penguin and thought, oh no, look at his outfit. There's a lot of detailing, but it was worth it. Okay, so we're going to do a couple of stripes of the blue here. And then we're going to do our blue-green. And it's a very subtle contrast. But I like the little bit of two-tone there. Maybe this is Santa in the off season, you think? Like trying to get his workout in? Who knows? I'm just being silly. Okay, and then just that little part of his palm hat. Can you see the postage stamps coming to life? I could see doing this with so many of our favorite image stamps, turning them into postage stamps, or think florals. Lots of things that you may have picked up here during Stamptember. Just so many fun ways to create little postage style stamps with this. You could even cut apart all of these bigger ones especially, and they could be gift tags and be used on packages, which I think would be absolutely precious. So we're going to do a little gold belt buckle. We're going to do a black belt, which we're going to create with some cool gray markers. Now everything, all the marker colors I'm using are going to be listed and linked below the video description here on YouTube, as well as over on my blog for easy reference. I am using Olo markers today. They are alcohol ink markers. And if you already own Copics and you're looking to maybe supplement some of the colors in your Copic collection, you can use Olo markers with Copics or your other alcohol ink markers seamlessly. So don't worry about that at all. If you don't want to make a total and complete switch, or you just want to give them a try and see how they work. Okay, I think Santa's done. I colored in his shoes and his glove, and it is time to move on to our next image. Let's color in our penguin. For our penguin, I decided to go with the same blue-green that I used for the stripe and palm on Santa's hat. And really at this point, I had considered doing all of my images in some sort of blue outfit, but I'm kind of glad I didn't. I like the different bits of color here, although a whole monochromatic blue card would have been pretty as well. I kind of felt like I was having playtime. Sometimes it's okay to create a card that you're going to send, but have it be an experiment, have it be a, just crafty time where you see what color combinations work. I wanted to test out the rose color. I know the blues I knew and the blue greens I knew, but I wanted to try out this rose color instead of like the brighter red that I'm generally drawn to, because I didn't feel like that was going to work with the rest of the colors I picked today. And I was right. I love this. This is really pretty. And then I wanted to use some yellow oranges, which the base color I use a lot, but then I used it's called yellow, but I feel like it has a green tint to it for the snowman, for the contrast on his hat and his palm. And that was fun too. So for me, I felt like it was crafty time, crafty playtime that resulted in learning some more color combinations that I like and that can be used for future projects. We're going to use some darker oranges as well. Generally, I'll tend to gravitate towards maybe a little bit lighter for penguins and snowmen noses. However, for this card, the deeper rusty oranges work really good with the rest of the colors. This is an example of how color choices matter. I did a card recently, I think so. I lose track of when all the videos come out. Sometimes they're not all filmed, sequentially. So sometimes I will be voicing things over and filming things before I get to another project. But there is a Christmas card kit coming out, or that came out, I guess. And in that card, I had colored some images and I had to switch the color. I had to color over that. So that's an example of color choices mattering, because you can see how they maybe don't all jive or work together the way you hoped they would. So that was my goal here, was I wanted the colors to all kind of be in that same muted palette. So I did some light neutrals for the belly and face of our penguin. I did some rosy cheeks, added in black glaze pen for his eyes, obviously added in that white pen detail for his hat, scarf, and sweater. And then we are using a light blue-green color combo for the snowman. And we're just shading that in first, and then we're going to take a 0 marker and kind of move that around. And even though we've added color to a quote-unquote white snowman, it serves as shading, not necessarily color. By the time we get the rest of the color on the image, it is not going to appear to be, you know, an aqua blue snowman. Contrasting against the colorful, it does look white, I guess is what I want to say. So here are those yellows I was talking about. They're yellow oranges. So kind of neutrals, yellowy neutrals. I like it because it's kind of golden colors. And he has his little cape on and his little stocking cap. I really like the outfits on these images. Very fun to color. And now here are the yellow colors, but you can see from the cap, they have a greenish tone to them. They're not actually that color. Like this looks very brown, and then the shading color for it's very greenish, but I loved it. I thought this was the perfect little contrast for his hat. Again, we're going to add the detail into his little cape and his hat with our white jelly roll pen, and then we can go back to our MISTI with our masking stencil for the waffle flower postage, and we want to add in our sentiment and our snowflakes. And one of the reasons I didn't do those right away after doing the ink blending, I wanted to give my ink a really good chance to completely dry while I was doing all of my coloring, which it did. I didn't have to worry that my embossing powder was going to stick to anything it shouldn't. I'm going to use the 3 snowflake images from the So Very Merry stamp set, and I'm going to use the So Very Merry greeting in that little box. It fits perfectly. It's like it was made to go there. We're going to sprinkle on our white embossing powder and heat emboss. I did use the masking stencil again so that I could keep my snowflake images within that square, or that, I guess it wasn't a square, it's more of a rectangle, but that block in the postage, so that, because I want them to hang off a little bit. I think that's the beauty of the postage. They're not just floating out there, they have a defined space. Once we have that, we're going to keep our masking stencil handy, because we're going to place this back in our MISTI. We're going to put our masking stencil back in place. No, we're not going to use our masking stencil. I lied so much. We are going to put our postage back in our MISTI, and we are going to take postage stamps, the North Pole and the original postage from Waffle Flower, and we are going to stamp cancellation marks and things all over. I tend to err on the side of I add a few and then I can add a few more. I personally love like the little prices, like the 30-cent and 50-cent that you can add to these. So you'll see a lot of that. I love the little cancellation mark, and then I like the little seals. So I will use those quite often. We're going to stamp all of this with VersaFine ONYX black ink. You'll notice that I'm going to stamp as many as I can at one time. And then if I need to, I can switch to just a little acrylic block. I do find the acrylic block is a little easier for those super teeny tiny greetings. See how they like to stick to me? I actually wet my finger so that I could move that without it trying to come with me. Okay, once we get those kind of where we want them to go, let's go ahead and give those a good press. Anything that the cancellation mark, or anything else for that matter, if it goes over something embossed, remember it's going to rub off because the embossed areas will resist. So give your postage a good, or the snowflakes, pardon, a good swipe when you're done, kind of carefully, because the little cancellation is going to go right over the top of these. All right, after we've stamped part of these, we're going to stamp the rest of them. And I do try to keep them off of like the faces of the images. And yes, you guys might have been shouting at the computer screen, Nicole, color in the arms of your snowman. I am so glad I remembered, because I would have been so mad later on. Okay, they are looking so super cute. We're going to do a little cancellation just up here at the top. And I think that's about it. I think I'm going to add maybe a couple more little things, but we're going to do that with an acrylic block. So much easier for some of the smallest pieces and areas. I do this a lot with small things like paper tray ink, especially. Some of their smaller images are much easier to stamp with an acrylic block. Okay, I love it. We are going to take this now and we are ready to pull it all together. I have this wonderful background from Simon Says Stamp. It's an embossing folder. I embossed it in this Blue Jay cardstock. And I'm going to just pop my postage frame over and use the Spellbinders Tool-in-One to help pop out any of the remaining little holes that didn't pop out. And I do see I missed one. I will pop that out here in a minute. I placed foam adhesive on the back of my panel, and then I'm going to place it right on that embossed background. This does take up most of the card front, so I don't necessarily think that you have to do anything extravagant for the background, but I do like that little bit of texture and color back behind. Next, we're taking some clear dazzling gems from Simon Says Stamp, and we're going to embellish the snowflakes first, and then to balance the card, we will scatter another trio of gems kind of over along the left side of the card. Otherwise, all the gems are really concentrated just in this lower right postage block, which is fine, and I do think it adds interest to those snowflakes, but I wanted to balance it out a little bit more. So we'll add a few more, and that is going to be it, friends. I hope this has inspired you to maybe check out some of your postage things that you already have and love, and some stamp sets that you either have or that you have coming in the mail for STAMPtember, and try to make your own postage designs out of stamps that maybe aren't necessarily made for postage. The supplies I used to create this card are listed and linked below the video here on YouTube. Thank you so much for joining me for another STAMPtember video, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye! Thank you so much for joining me today for another paper crafting tutorial. I love being able to share with this incredible community of crafters. I want to give a huge shout out and special thank you to my amazing Patreon members. If you're interested in joining Patreon, please click the link in the description underneath the video here on YouTube. Patreon is a private community where you can support more of what I do. There is exclusive content, information, and behind-the-scenes content. Top-tier members will receive a handmade birthday card during your birthday month, access to D-Stash, and monthly exclusive lives, plus so much more. We would love to have you join our growing community. Please be sure to subscribe to my channel, click that like button, and don't forget to hit the notification bell to always be notified when I have a new video. Thanks for watching!